To the rest of the news on the local market now, and earlier I spoke to Martin Lakos from Macquarie Private Wealth. Well, Martin Lakos, US President Barack Obama is looking to cut America's deficit by $4 trillion over 12 years. How has that played out on global share markets?
Yeah, Tiki, before that announcement came out, European markets were very strong. We had the French and English markets up 0.75%, the German market up 1% on the back of the fifth consecutive month of factory orders rising. We had broker upgrades on Alcatel-Lucent, and that stock was up 7.5%. Then, of course, we had Barack Obama come through with this very large number, $4 trillion to be cut from the deficit over the next 12 years, largely a focus on spending cuts and tax increases. Now, the US market traded in a pretty big range, about 140-odd points nearly, down 39 at one stage, up 72. What seemed to be a volatile day closed barely up 7.
Now, as we just heard, Leighton Holdings has resumed trading after going cap in hand to the market. Who's been buying in this equity offer?
Well, what was interesting, the stock came back on the market today after the announcement for that 1-for-9 rights issue at $22.50. They announced today that the institutional placement of that stock was about $514 million out of the total issue of $757 million. Now, about 98% of the institutions are taking up their entitlement, Tiki, and the balance, 2%, or nearly 500,000 shares, was then auctioned off through a book build, and that price went off at $24.50, $2 above the issue price. Now, that really goes to show some strong interest in the stock, and that was very much indicated by today's trade. The stock opened around $24.20, saw highs of $25 on pretty good turnover, so closed down 12% on the day and closing at $24.90. So there definitely is some support for the stock at these levels. Our own analyst maintains an underperform on the stock, but he's certainly got a caveat on that. He thinks the big picture, the macro outlook, is actually pretty positive going forward.
And BHP Billiton and ExxonMobil appear to have a tax headache after a federal court ruling. Any impact on the BHP share price today?
Look, Tiki, this was an ongoing dispute on the petroleum rent resources tax. So it's been going for quite some time on the calculation of the tax. I believe it's some $70 million between the two. I'm not quite sure what the split on that was, but it does appear to be resolved through the courts in the tax officer's favour. So, I would think that BHP and Exxon probably well and truly provisioned for this. Had it gone their way, obviously they would have seen a share of a tax credit going forward. I think what's been more important is we've seen $6.25 billion of turnover in BHP in the last 4 trading days. If you remember, Tiki, on Monday, we had a couple of things happen that put a bit of a short squeeze on BHP. The announcement by BHP that they were not looking to bid for Woodside, as there had been a lot of speculation around. The market was probably short BHP and long Woodside, so that short position had to get wound back. Bit of a squeeze there. And then, of course, you had the announcement on the share buyback, which was very positive. They increased the size of that. So you had a lot of people looking to replenish their shareholdings in BHP as they've been taken in that share buyback. Now, today, for the first time, we've really seen the stock come off in a big way, down about 59 cents, was down a lot more through the day. And that was probably as much a reflection of the squeeze easing as it was as much of seeing commodity prices easing through the day as well.
Martin Lakos, thanks very much for talking to Late Line Business.
Always a pleasure.